Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how much we love diving into tricky topics, and today's no different. We're tackling something that I think a lot of us can relate to, whether you're a parent, a teacher, or just spend time with kids, childhood anxiety.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is, you've already got some fantastic notes on this. So think of this deep dive as like a fast track to turning those notes into aha
I
moments.
love that. It's like we're taking information overload and making it instantly useful.
Exactly.
So, ready to decode childhood anxiety. Let's jump right in. First up in the notes, validating their feelings. It sounds simple, but how do we actually do that in a way that really connects with kids?
Well, I think, often the notes say, let them know it's okay to feel anxious and that you're there to help. But how do you make a child really feel that?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Right, because just saying those words doesn't automatically make it click.
Right. And that's where empathy comes in. It's about really stepping into their world. Instead of saying, oh, you don't need to be afraid of the dark, acknowledge that fear. You could say something like, I know it feels scary in the dark sometimes. It's okay to feel that way. I'm here with you.
It's like you're giving them permission to have those feelings instead of trying to just shut them down.
Exactly. Because when a child feels heard, when they know their feelings are valid, that's when you can start building trust and open communication.
Which is huge, because if they don't feel comfortable opening up, we can't really help them work through those anxieties.
Precisely. Validation is the foundation.
Okay, so we've laid that foundation of validation. What comes next?
Well, now that we understand the importance of validating feelings, let's talk about giving kids the tools to actually manage their anxiety. Your notes mention relaxation techniques and gradual exposure.
Yes. I was curious about those. Relaxation technique sounds a bit, formal for a 5-year-old.
It does, doesn't it?
Hmm.
But the great thing is we can adapt these techniques to make them totally kid-friendly.
Okay, so give me the kid-friendly version. How do we take something like relaxation techniques and make it work for a child?
So instead of just telling a child to calm down, which never works, right?
Never.
We can teach them techniques like deep breathing. Deep breathing is like a secret superpower. When we get anxious, our bodies go into fight or flight mode. But when we take slow, deep breaths, it sends a message to our brains to chill out.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Yes. And the best part, it's something kids can learn to do anywhere, anytime. You can even make it fun by pretending to blow up an imaginary balloon.
I love that. Okay, that's deep breathing, which is super practical. What about gradual exposure? How do we explain that one?
Okay, so imagine a child who's terrified of dogs, right?
Okay, got it.
Instead of throwing them into a situation where they have to interact with the dog right away, which would be overwhelming,
Right.
we take baby steps. Maybe we start by looking at pictures of friendly dogs. Then we watch some funny dog videos. Maybe we observe a dog from a distance.
Okay, so it's about breaking down that fear into smaller, less scary steps.
Exactly. Each step, no matter how small, is a victory. It's like leveling up in a video game. They gain confidence with each level.
Such a good analogy. Because kids love video games. And speaking of things kids love, or at least things that make my life easier, the notes also mention the power of routine.
Yes. Routine is gold when it comes to managing anxiety, especially for kids.
I can see that. I mean, I know I feel calmer when I have a routine, but what makes it especially important for kids?
Well, think about it. Anxiety thrives on uncertainty. When kids know what to expect, when they have a predictable structure for their day, it reduces those what if worries that can spiral into anxiety.
It's like having a roadmap instead of feeling lost in the woods.
Exactly. Bedtime at 8 p.m., breakfast routine, set time for homework, all of these things create a sense of safety and predictability.
So it's not about being rigid. It's about having those consistent touch points throughout the day.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. Involve kids in creating the routine, whether it's choosing a bedtime story or deciding what goes in their lunchbox.
That's such a good idea. It gives them a sense of control, which I imagine is really empowering when they're feeling anxious.
Exactly. And finally, and perhaps most importantly,
Yes.
patience. Your notes emphasize being patient and supportive, and it's so true. Dealing with anxiety takes time. There will be good days and tough days. But as adults, we need to model that patience. We need to show them that we're in this together for the long haul.
That is so important. It's a journey, not a quick fix. This has been so insightful. We've covered validation, those practical tools like relaxation techniques and gradual exposure, the power of routine, and of course, being patient. Amazing how much we packed in.
And the great thing is, these are just starting points. Each child is unique. What works for one might not work for another. So use these insights as a guide, but don't be afraid to experiment and find what resonates best.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to something as complex as anxiety.
Yeah.
Now, here's something to think about. We've talked a lot about general strategies, but how can you take these ideas and make them work for the children in your life? What's one small step you can take today to create that calmer, more supportive environment? Keep that question in mind, and until next time, happy parenting.